Somehow, many people feel obligated to be productive every waking moment. But why? Perhaps they desire to prove to themselves that their life has meaning or purpose. Maybe they want to be, air quote, successful and realize that hard work is a prerequisite. Possibly they fear being lazy or wasteful with their given life. However, could there be something more nefarious going on? Could an external force be manipulating us on a daily basis? More startling, could our own mind be sabotaging us? Dopamine. Scientists christened it the molecule of more, a single chemical in our brains that drives love, sex, and creativity, and will determine a large part of the fate of the human race. Let's start out with most people's favorite topic, pleasure. What's more powerful than pleasure? Anticipation of pleasure is more powerful than the pleasure experience itself. In years past, dopamine was thought to be the pleasure molecule. However, scientists eventually discovered that dopamine isn't about pleasure at all. Dopamine delivers a feeling much more influential. Understanding dopamine turns out to be the key to explaining and even predicting behavior across a spectacular range of human endeavors, creating art, literature, and music, seeking success, discovering new worlds and new laws of nature, thinking about God, and falling in love. It is the reaction to the unexpected, to possibility and anticipation. Dopamine's day job is to idealize the unknown. Passion rises when we dream of a world of possibility and fades when we are confronted by reality. From a utilitarian perspective, dopamine seeks to maximize resources that will be available to us in the future, the pursuit of better things and better options. Mountains are majestic, standing far off in the distance, softened by the blurring effect of miles of air, like a soft focus photograph of a bride on her wedding day. Those with higher levels of dopamine want to climb it, explore it, conquer it, but they can't because it doesn't exist. The mountain itself exists, but the imagined experience of being on it is impossible to achieve. The reality is that most of the time you're on a mountain you can't even tell. Typically, you're surrounded by trees, and that's all you see. Occasionally, you might come to a scenic overlook in which you can see for miles over the valley. But as you look, it's the faraway valley that's full of promise and beauty now, not the mountain you're standing on. Glamour creates desires that cannot be fulfilled because they are desires for things that exist only in the imagination. Whether it's an airplane in the sky, a movie star in Hollywood, or a distant mountain, only things that are out of reach can be glamorous. Only things that are unreal. Glamour is a lie. Now, the novelty that triggers dopamine doesn't go on forever. When it comes to love, the loss of passionate romance will always happen eventually, and then comes a choice. In transition to a love that's fed by a day-to-day appreciation of that other person in the here and now, or we can end the relationship and go in search of another roller coaster ride. Choosing the dopaminergic kick takes little effort, but it ends fast, like the pleasure of eating a Twinkie. Love that lasts shifts the emphasis from anticipation to the present experience, from the fantasy of anything being possible to engagement with reality and all its imperfections, prioritizing the present, the here and now with awareness. The transition is difficult, and when the world presents an easy way out of a difficult task, we tend to take it. That's why when the dopamine firing of early romance ends, many relationships end too. The way dopamine encourages us to maximize our resources is by rewarding us when we do so. The act of doing something well, of making our future a better, safer place, gives us a little dopamine buzz. Did you catch that? Let me say that again. Dopamine encourages us to maximize our resources by rewarding us when we do so. For example, the act of doing something well or making our future a better or safer place gives us a little dopamine buzz. And this, my fellow curious community, is why the majority of the world is dopamine addicted. And it has only gotten worse with the implementation of technology over the past 100 years. Since technology has sped up the ability to accomplish things, as well as the ability to feel like you have accomplished something as arbitrary as scrolling through a social media feed actually hits your dopamine system very hard because it is new, novel information that is unpredictable as far as what you're going to get. It's like a slot machine every single time you scroll through your feed. And consequently, your dopamine is being hit boom, 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 which we know has a whole slew of negative effects from the standpoint of social media addiction, or another manifestation of this exact thing is video game addiction, or if you're anything like me, you struggle with information addiction, in that I like to get my dopamine hits through accruing wisdom, new knowledge that I can apply into my life. And each of us have our own way of utilizing dopamine. And in many cases, we end up becoming addicted. But we reason with ourselves that this is a good addiction, right? I'm addicted to books and learning. So that's a good addiction to have. And it absolutely is a better addiction than something like a drug addiction. However, because it is an addiction, it draws us out of the present moment, the gift of the present moment, the awareness, the peace, the here and now molecules like serotonin, which allow us to enjoy where we're at in this moment. It allows us to enjoy our accomplishments. It allows us to live slower, to live more simply, and yet enjoy it with a greater sense of accomplishment and satisfaction. Always being go, 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 productive, dopamine driven actually hinders us from ever stopping and smelling the roses. It hinders us from ever experiencing the elation and satisfaction of resting in an accomplishment. And it doesn't mean that we need to give up on goals for the rest of our lives, but what it does mean is moving away from the dopamine-driven future pursuit. I'll be happy when I ... or when this happens, then I will relax and be able to enjoy it. So to wrap things up, here are the key takeaways. Dopamine does not care about your current happiness. Dopamine will never let you be happy because it is always seeking external goals and things. However, the here and now neurotransmitters, which are the balancing counterpart to dopamine, which I will just call serotonin, looks to appreciate the present moment. And serotonin is boosted when we slow down and live simply. And boosted serotonin means peace, happiness, and contentment, which we're all after. The following is a clip showing one of the ways in which I have adopted a different routine in order to incorporate more serotonin-based activities. In this case, substituting black coffee, heavily dopamine-driven, with yerba mate. Got my favorite morning brew right here. I used to do coffee. These days I do yerba mate. My body has just recently decided that it's just a little too stimulating. It gives me anxiety now, whereas before it never really did. I really enjoy this stuff though, and I enjoy this brand specifically. One moment, I'm using one hand to do this. And I'm failing. Okay, so yes, it has caffeine, 60 milligrams per serving. But the key ingredient, dear friends, is theobromine. And this one's very high at 7 milligrams, which is what makes this guy so pleasing on the body. It gives you energy, but it does not give you jitters. Now, there's a couple different options as far as how you can brew the tea. The traditional way is with the bombilla or bombija, which has a filter down here where my pinky's touching, and you can drink it straight through the brew with no issues. Or you can use something like this filter here, which goes in the cup, or this lid, which goes into a glass container that filters out when you're ready to drink it. And if you made it this far, let me know in the comments section below what your relationship to dopamine is and what takeaway from this video really resonated with you. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button so that YouTube knows to recommend this to other wisdom seekers like yourself. But more importantly, consider subscribing and clicking all on the bell icon to receive upcoming thought-provoking videos every Tuesday. I appreciate you and your time. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.